We live in a world that screams at us to be self-made. A world that celebrates the individual, that tells us to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, to be the masters of our own destiny, to rely on our own intellect, our own strength, our own resources. And while initiative and effort are praiseworthy, this narrative carries a hidden, crushing weight, the weight of ultimate responsibility, the anxiety that if we fail, it is because we were not smart enough, not strong enough, not good enough. But what if I told you there is a secret, a key to a power source that never dims, a formula for resilience that the greatest hearts have relied upon for centuries? It is a phrase many of us have heard, but perhaps few of us have truly understood. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. The idea of the self-made individual is one of the most seductive and pervasive myths of our modern age. It's a narrative woven into the very fabric of our culture, celebrated in billionaire autobiographies, echoed in motivational seminars, and embedded in the quiet, competitive anxieties of our daily lives. We are told from a young age that we are the architects of our own destiny, the sole captains of our fate. The message is clear. Your success is a testament to your grit, your intelligence, your relentless drive. Conversely, and far more damningly, your failure is a direct reflection of your personal inadequacy. You didn't try hard enough, you weren't smart enough, you lacked the necessary character. This philosophy places the entire colossal weight of existence squarely on the narrow shoulders of the individual. It is a world where you are only as valuable as your last achievement, and where your next setback could be the one that defines you forever. This creates a psychic environment of perpetual, low-grade panic. Every challenge becomes a test not just of skill, but of worth. Every obstacle is not merely a problem to be solved, but a potential verdict on your very being. When you face a financial shortfall, the internal monologue isn't just, how do I solve this? But why am I so bad with money? Why can't I provide? When a relationship fractures, the question isn't just, what went wrong? But what is so unlovable about me? When a career goal seems distant, the thought isn't just, I need a new strategy, but I am a failure. This is the hidden, crushing weight of the self-made lie. It isolates us, forcing us into a solitary struggle where vulnerability is a sign of weakness and asking for help is an admission of defeat. We burn out not from the work itself, but from the immense emotional and spiritual burden of believing that everything depends solely on us. We are trying to power a city with a single flickering battery, exhausting ourselves in a futile attempt to do the work of a power grid. It is into this storm of anxiety that the phrase, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah, arrives not as a whisper of resignation, but as a thunderclap of liberation. This profound declaration is the precise antidote to the poison of the self-made narrative. To truly utter these words with understanding is to perform a radical act of intellectual and spiritual emancipation. It is the conscious, deliberate act of taking that crushing weight from your own shoulders and placing it upon the shoulders of the one who can actually bear it. The moment you internalize that there is no power nor strength except with Allah, the entire paradigm of your existence shifts. Imagine you are carrying a boulder up a steep hill. The self-made mindset tells you that you must find the strength within your own muscles to do it. You strain, you sweat, your muscles scream in protest, and with every slip, you blame yourself for being too weak. Now imagine discovering a powerful, gentle, and infinitely strong lever system that can do the work for you. Using the lever isn't cheating, it's intelligence. It's understanding the proper use of tools and forces greater than your own. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is that lever. It doesn't mean you walk away from the boulder. You still have to show up, you still have to position the lever, you still have to make the effort. But the source of the actual lifting power is no longer your trembling, finite muscles. The power comes from the lever, from a system of divine physics that operates on principles of mercy, wisdom, and limitless capability. This liberation manifests in tangible, life-altering ways. The student who has studied diligently, but is gripped with a fear of failure before an exam can now pause and recite this truth. The outcome is no longer a verdict on their intelligence alone. It is now in the hands of the all-knowing, who encompasses all factors seen and unseen. This doesn't promote laziness, it promotes peace. It allows the student to perform to the best of their actual ability, unshackled from the paralyzing effects of anxiety. The entrepreneur who faces a seemingly insurmountable market challenge can now approach it with strategic clarity instead of existential dread. The problem is no longer a monster that threatens to devour their entire identity. It is a situation to be navigated with the help of the ultimate strategist. They can think creatively, work diligently, and then trust that the power to bring about success is not solely generated by their own hustle, but is facilitated by a force that controls the entire universe. This is the end of the lonely struggle. The phrase is an immediate invocation of partnership. It is the ultimate rejection of the solitary confinement of the self. You are no longer a single soldier on a vast battlefield. You are a loyal officer in the army of the Most High with direct access to the commander. Your responsibility shifts from being the source of power to being the channel for it. Your duty is to make the sincere effort, to take the lawful means, to show up with good intentions and a willing heart, and then to connect yourself to the divine current that will actualize the outcome. This is the essence of Tawakkul, not passive waiting, but active trust after having done one's part. The exhaustion lifts because you are no longer trying to be the sun, you are learning to reflect its light. The anxiety dissipates because you are no longer trying to control the ocean, you are learning to sail with its tides, guided by a navigator who knows every current and every star. The secret power of la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is that it doesn't just change your situation, it changes you. It transforms you from a fragile, isolated self, desperately trying to build a fortress, into a serene, connected soul, resting in the unshakable fortress of divine power. There is a common and deeply unfortunate misconception that to relinquish the claim of being the ultimate source of one's power is to slide into a state of passive resignation. The world often mistakes humility for humiliation and surrender to the divine for surrender to circumstance. It paints a picture of the faithful as passive individuals, waiting for manna to fall from heaven, their hands folded in prayer rather than engaged in work, their spirits subdued by a belief that they are but pawns in a predetermined game. To the unacquainted observer, the phrase La Hawla wa la Quwwata illa billah might sound like the ultimate white flag, a whispered admission that I cannot, so I will not even try. But this interpretation is a profound error, a superficial reading of a deep and strategic truth. In reality, this declaration is not an act of laying down one's arms. It is the act of swapping a rusty, dull blade for a weapon of celestial steel. To understand why, we must dissect the very nature of power as it is commonly perceived versus its true, ultimate source. Human power is intrinsically limited. It is bounded by our physical stamina, which fades with fatigue, illness, and age. It is constrained by our intellect, which can only process a finite amount of information and is often clouded by bias, emotion, and ignorance. It is hemmed in by our circumstances, our wealth, our social connections, the opportunities presented by our time and place in history. We plan, and a single unforeseen event, a market crash, a global pandemic, a personal betrayal, can unravel years of effort. We build our little kingdoms of influence and control, only to see them be assailed by forces entirely beyond our comprehension, let alone our command. To rely solely on this human power is, therefore, a strategically unsound position. It is to enter a vast, complex battle with a weapon you know to be faulty and a strength you know to be fleeting. The utterance of La Hawla wa la Quwwata illa billah is the moment a wise general realizes this. It is not a retreat from the battlefield. It is the decision to call in the air force, the cavalry, the intelligence network of the divine. It is a strategic realignment of resources. You are not giving up the fight. You are vastly upgrading your arsenal. When you declare that there is no power nor strength except with Allah, you are making a conscious choice to tap into a power that is unlimited, an intelligence that is omniscient, and a strength that is omnipotent. This is the antithesis of passivity. It is the most dynamic and proactive stance a human being can take. It means your efforts are now backed by a force that never tires. Your strategies are now informed by a wisdom that sees the end from the beginning, and your resolve is now fortified by a strength that can move mountains. Consider the metaphor of a sailor. A sailor who believes only in his own power will desperately try to row against a storm, relying solely on the muscle of his own arms. He will exhaust himself quickly, make little progress, and likely succumb to the waves. This is the self-made man in a crisis. Another sailor might give up entirely, folding his arms and letting the storm take him wherever it will, believing all effort is futile. This is the false idea of passivity. But the sailor who understands la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is different. He does not stop rowing. He knows his effort is essential. He must steer, adjust the sails, and navigate. But he also knows that his puny arms cannot control the wind or calm the sea. His declaration is an acknowledgement of that reality. It allows him to focus his finite human power on what he can do, skillfully managing his ship while simultaneously beseeching and relying upon the infinite power of the one who commands the wind and the sea. His action is married to a profound trust. He works with the cosmic forces, not against them or in ignorant isolation from them. This principle transforms every endeavor. The student who studies and then recites this phrase has not abandoned their effort, they have sanctified it. They have done their part, the human part of studying, and have now connected their outcome to a power that can sharpen their memory, clarify their thoughts during the exam, and open doors no mere test score could. The business person who develops a product, markets it, and then relies upon Allah is not being lazy. They are recognizing that true success, the convergence of timing, consumer need, and unseen opportunities, is generated by a force far greater than any marketing budget. They have done the lawful, practical work and have now plugged their enterprise into the ultimate power grid. This is the secret. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah is the bridge between human effort and divine decree. It is the mechanism that turns our limited, earthly striving into something touched by the infinite. It is the difference between a shout into an empty void and a conversation with the creator of the universe. It moves us from a position of fragile self-reliance to one of unshakable, strategic partnership. We are no longer the sole proprietors of our struggles, liable for every loss. We become trusted agents, doing our best work with the absolute certainty that we are backed by the greatest power in existence. This is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of empowerment. It is the courage to act, not because you are sure of your own strength, but because you are utterly confident in His.